I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and I bear witness that Muhammad, peace be upon him, is his servant and final messenger.
The safety and cultural identity of British children has become a growing concern for many in the UK, sparking heated debates about immigration, religion and national values. A significant number of British citizens are raising alarms about what they perceive as the indoctrination of children into Islam in schools, with little to no emphasis on Christianity.
In schools, they're pressuring us to learn about Islam and learn about the people that are coming over. I don't want to learn about that. I want to learn about my culture, my beliefs, and I'm proud to be English. Yeah.
Have they taught you about the Bill of Rights?
No.
Did you learn about the Battle of Agincourt?
No. In school, they were teaching us about, about Islam, about Prophet Muhammad, and all their ideologies. They barely covered Christianity at all.
This has led to widespread frustration and the rallying cry, "Enough is enough. Britain is a Christian country." The issue has become a focal point in discussions about the impact of immigration and the role of religion in public life, with some arguing that the UK's welcoming attitude toward refugees and migrants has come at the expense of its own cultural heritage. In British schools, there is a growing perception that children are being exposed to Islamic teachings while Christianity is being sidelined. Critics argue that this imbalance is unacceptable, especially in a country with a rich Christian history and tradition. They point to instances where Islamic practices, such as prayers and religious education, are introduced in schools, often with little or no equivalent focus on Christianity.
About Prophet Muhammad and all their ideologies. They barely covered Christianity at all.
Did they tell you about how he was a warlord who brutally murdered people?
They wouldn't say any of that. And when I tried to stand up and say that some of them things, I would get in trouble for it. Suspended from school because apparently I was being racist. I wasn't. I was just trying to,
You're questioning an ideology?
Yes, I was questioning the ideology, and in my opinion, it's not the right ideology. They're trying to take away my free speech in school. They're trying to silence me in school, to suspend me from school for, trying to stand up and discuss stuff about Islam, the wrongs of it. They only say, Islam's a peaceful religion, but if you look into their book, you find out it's not.
This has led to accusations that British children are being indoctrinated into Islam, with some parents feeling that their own religious and cultural values are being undermined. The concern is not just about the content of education, but also about the broader implications for British identity and societal cohesion. Make your opinion count by liking this video and promoting it for more awareness. Also, share and subscribe to our channel for upcoming updates. Let's challenge the narrative together. You wouldn't see this in the mainstream media. Prime Minister Keir Starmer's recent comments about Islamophobia being a significant problem in Britain have further fueled the debate. While many agree that Islamophobia is a serious issue that needs to be addressed, others argue that the focus on Islamophobia overlooks the concerns of those who feel that British culture and values are being eroded.
We've seen a devastating rise in Islamophobia, leaving people feeling fearful and unsafe in their own country. I've heard firsthand of women wearing hijab who are too scared to travel by public transport, of Muslim families being abused as they leave the mosque. The surge in Islamophobia is simply appalling. Muslim women and girls disproportionately targeted, mosques forced to ramp up security, and British Muslims questioned as if they are terrorists. I do not want Britain to be a place where British Muslims are not able to be their whole selves, where they feel they must hide or tone down who they are for fear of being attached to views that are not their own.
They question whether the government is prioritising the interests of immigrants over those of its own citizens, particularly when it comes to the education and upbringing of British children. The tension between addressing Islamophobia and preserving British cultural identity has become a contentious issue with no easy solutions in sight. One of the most alarming aspects of this debate is the reported incidents of Muslims attempting to convert Christian children to Islam. There have been claims of Muslim individuals or groups approaching children in schools and on the streets, encouraging them to adopt Islamic practices and beliefs. For many British parents, this is a step too far. They argue that such actions are not only inappropriate, but also a direct threat to the cultural and religious identity of their children. The phrase invade, conquer, subdue, and dominate has been used by some to describe what they see as a deliberate effort to spread Islam in the UK, often at the expense of other religions. The frustration is compounded by the perception that such efforts to convert children would not be tolerated if they were directed toward Muslims. Critics point out that it is highly unlikely for Christians or Jews to attempt to convert Muslim children in mosques or Islamic schools, and they argue that the same respect should be shown to Christian and Jewish communities. This double standard, they say, is evidence of a broader trend where British values and traditions are being sidelined in favour of accommodating immigrant communities. The call to action is clear. Britain must start protecting its interests for a lasting peace. Many believe that the government needs to take a stronger stance to ensure that British culture and values are preserved, particularly in the education system. This includes ensuring that Christianity is given its rightful place in the curriculum and that efforts to convert children to other religions are firmly discouraged. There is also a growing demand for policies that prioritise the integration of immigrants into British society, rather than allowing the formation of parallel communities that operate outside the mainstream cultural and legal framework. The debate over the role of religion in British schools is part of a broader conversation about immigration and its impact on society. While the UK has a long history of welcoming refugees and migrants, there is a growing sense that the current approach is unsustainable. Critics argue that the UK's open immigration policies have led to overcrowded schools, strained public services, and a loss of cultural identity. They believe that the government needs to take a more balanced approach, one that respects the rights of immigrants while also protecting the interests of British citizens. Supporters of immigration, on the other hand, argue that the UK's diversity is one of its greatest strengths. They point out that immigrants contribute significantly to the economy, culture, and society, and that efforts to demonise or exclude them are counterproductive. They also emphasise the importance of addressing Islamophobia and ensuring that all communities feel valued and respected. However, they acknowledge that there is a need for better integration policies to ensure that immigrants are able to fully participate in British society, while also respecting its values and traditions. The challenge for the UK is to find a way to balance these competing interests. On one hand, there is a need to address legitimate concerns about the impact of immigration on British culture and identity. On the other hand, there is a need to ensure that immigrants are treated fairly and that their contributions to society are recognised. This requires a nuanced and thoughtful approach, one that takes into account the concerns of all stakeholders and seeks to build a more inclusive and cohesive society. In conclusion, the debate over the indoctrination of British children into Islam and the perceived erosion of Christian values is a complex and emotionally charged issue. While there are legitimate concerns about the impact of immigration on British culture and identity, there is also a need to ensure that all communities are treated with respect and dignity. The UK must find a way to balance these competing interests, ensuring that its cultural heritage is preserved while also embracing the diversity that has long been a hallmark of its society. What are your thoughts on this issue? Do you believe that British children are being indoctrinated into Islam, or do you see this as a necessary part of a diverse and inclusive society? Remember to like and subscribe for more analysis of important global issues, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.